So now let's talk about September 5th. We're going to call it September 5th, as talked about at the beginning of the show, which we've seen this week, and we've had the opportunity to speak to some talent about. If you don't know, September 5th, which admittedly is a very unimaginative title.
We were saying that,
It's a shame in a way, because the film kind of...
And it's a date which functionally on emails and texts, and when you say it to someone, it's like, wait, I know, when's it coming out?
Yeah.
I know it's coming out. What's the name of the film?
So September 5th, which is about the 1972 Munich Olympic Games hostage crisis, but told specifically through the viewpoint of the ABC Sports News team. And this film, another 90-minute film, really, for the week, takes place in the broadcasting centre in the Olympic Village in 1972. You have Peter Sarsgaard playing Rune Arledge.
Is it Rooney?
No, Rune. They call it Rune Arledge, who we discovered when we spoke to Peter Sarsgaard and the director, was actually a kind of pioneer of sports broadcasting and really brought a lot of storytelling techniques to it. And actually, I was reading his biography afterwards. He went on to be like a major player in American broadcasting. So Peter Sarsgaard is playing Rune Arledge, who's overseeing the broadcasting of the Olympic Games in Munich. You have Ben Chaplin playing the head of operations, who's running around making sure all this analog tech works and everything, and they can broadcast the way they need to because they can connect to the satellite and they can switch over slots so CBS can get it later. You have John Magaro, who's playing a character who's, for the point of the film, is his first time sort of helming the operations while Peter Sarsgaard's character goes and has a day off. For context, it's Germany. It's 1972. You have German characters talking about how this was a really key moment in German history to try and move past the war and the legacy of the war. It's international eyes on Germany, specifically West Germany, trying to acknowledge the horrors of the past, but it's a new generation saying Germany has changed, Germany is new, and Germany is different.
And filmed live by a satellite in colour for the first time, framing Germany in a new lens. Very important to create that sort of distinction.
And yes, advances in media technology, which we see, but still kind of enjoyable and technical and analog. But then, as we know, as history dictates, and as depicted in other films like Spielberg's Munich, a hostage crisis does take place. The Israeli Olympic team is taken hostage in the Olympic Village, and what begins over the course of September 5th, 1972, the ABC sports news team find themselves in this unique position where they are literally 2 buildings away from what is happening, and they're getting pressure to give it over to the general news team back in the States, and they think, no, this is our time, we can tell this story. Like I said, it's focused in that building, 90 minutes with those characters. I don't think I've missed anything out about the story there. Yeah. So we were lucky enough to have the opportunity to speak to the director, Tim Feldbaum, to Peter Sarsgaard, to Ben Chaplin, to John Magaro and Leonie Benesch yesterday. And what a great time. John Magaro, who was incredibly jet lagged, bless him.
So we actually George got to speak to him very briefly in Sundance, and we were almost like, we're tired and jet lagged from a 7-hour difference. And we said, we saw you at Sundance, and bless him, respect, was just like, oh, amazing. Where am I? What time is it? Who are we?
I mean, I don't know whether you'll hear it in that, but yeah, he really was fading. Nice guy. Did very
Lovely
well.
guy,
But it was a delight to speak to all of them, actually. And we're going to we asked basically the same questions to all 3 groups. We're going to try and put a compilation together for you now. So here are the cast and the director of September 5th talking about the movie. And what a lovely chat we had with them. They were great. Really enjoyed speaking to them. It's always a great opportunity to speak to the filmmakers, particularly with a film we kind of engrossed in. As you can tell from those questions, we had a lot to think about it. James, September 5th.
A really nice, sharp and concise, interesting film. The first thing I noticed when I started watching it was not the runtime itself, that became clear obviously after we finished it, but it was how quickly the film got straight to the point. I'd say we got about 7 or 8 minutes worth of needed, efficient context.
Yes.
And I love that we were straight into it. It was very tense. The film is small in a good way and tight and almost claustrophobic as we navigate between the TV gallery, pushing cameras, smuggling reels, trying to get from A to B. I enjoyed the perspective of staying in the room or the studio with these characters, and it's really well acted. Peter Sarsgaard's really good in that role. John Magaro's also great in that. I'd like seeing him in more things. We loved him in Past Lives, and similarly, Leonie Benesch, really, really great in that role. There's so many wonderful little notes which I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the context of Munich being put on blast in colour, live from satellite, that obviously being really relevant later in the film. And also an appreciation, and I mentioned this in the interviews with the guys, just what a love letter to analog media and how many things had to be facilitated for everything to happen. Dragging things in between studios, smuggling film reels, who knew text on screen and logos being put on to make that work. Was so difficult. We definitely take that for granted now. I think it's a really easy film to recommend, unlike films like The Bruce List, which I think I really loved. I struggle to recommend that to people because it's slightly pretentious, because of its overly long runtime. I really think if you're interested in the story behind the story you know from a perspective you didn't have, it's a really great film to go and check out. It's only 90 minutes, and I just think it's all very well done and worth checking out.
Yeah, I think if you don't know the story, you can enjoy it. If you do know the story, you can still enjoy it. That's the whole point. It's a fresh perspective. I like the director talked about they didn't want to have any personal arcs with the characters. It's all about the professional workspace. And in a way, it's a good film about a working environment. It feels like it could equally be a film about a submarine crew or a ship crew, tight, focused in this broadcasting space. And it could be a play, as we talked about in the interviews. And I agree. I think it's really recommendable. And it's just a solid, gripping, albeit grim, thriller that is effective as a thriller, as a piece of entertainment thriller, but also probes deeper questions about narrative and media, narrativization of information, and the way that information is interpolated and used and can be taken by broadcasters, but also ultimately. There's a point towards the end of the film which I really like, which is that despite all the narrativization that happens, it's kind of a sort of a chilling, emotional reminder that you can control the narrative, but you can't control the story at the end of the day. And that's a great moment.
Yeah, there's that really important scene with Peter Sarsgaard in the beginning where he is the legendary sports broadcaster who's in the gallery of the TV room choosing the shots, and someone wins the swimming race. And it's not just important showing who wins, but how long you show them. Do you show the loser? Do you show them greeting their family? All of that shapes the narrative of sports storytelling and news storytelling in this sense. And you'll hopefully see this film and then look at all of that in a really new lens. And I really do recommend, not that this is an opportunity given out to many people, but if you ever get the chance to go into the gallery of a TV studio, it's a really interesting place to be. You probably won't get to see it as shots are being cool, but I really do remember when I worked in television, it was a lot of the time I was in there to watch them directing music sequences shot for live, and just seeing how they cut to the music and move the time and when to go wide and when you want to go close up. It's all just part of the directing and the storytelling for that, and it's a really nice appreciation of that craft, especially when it's live and broadcast live and the pressure of the world watching Germany being framed in this in colour on satellite for the first time. All of that's done really nicely, but not overly done. It's very efficient with its prologue.
And it's, it kind of concludes with this postscript about how it was technically the first broadcast act of terror, and about this point where media is changing, and I just think that's really interesting and a kind of daunting fact, but really effective as a thriller. Great, solid movie. We both really got a lot out of it.
90 minutes.
Yeah,
easy
really.
To jump in and jump out, especially if you enjoy history. I think it's a really good one. Yeah, it would make a very good play.
And it's not too, I found it thankfully not too, in its 70s setting, too wiggy, too smoky. It's a good blend of actual recreated footage and also archival footage.
Yes, yeah.
One of the sports anchor that they have is not played by an actor. It's they use the real archival footage. Good solid movie.
Go and check out September 5th. It's coming out later this week, I think. And as always, send in your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, your reviews to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com, and we'll read them out on a show.